Folks, fantastic news. The Quadgrows are back. It's official. They are back in stock and back being produced, and I am over the moon. If you've never used one of these or never heard of them, then stick around. Today I'm going to be planting out some tomatoes in these, which are particularly well suited for Quadgrows, but they're also good for lots of other plants as well. So what is the Quadgrow? Let's start there. It's very simple. It's one of those really simple but very effective designs, I think. You've basically got two water tanks here. This is the 4-pot system, and these two water tanks are joined by a little connecting piece. You get all the tools to kind of assemble that, and then on top you get this plastic cover in which there is a depression for your pots. And these are really nice. They're 12-litre pots, I think they're 12-litre that come with, and what you have is a hole for wicking matting that basically goes down into the reservoir, and you've got some nice little cutouts as well for canes or supports, plant supports, which is really, really handy. And you might think, well, can I just do this myself? And you can. There's some really good YouTube tutorials of people making these themselves, but it's quite a lot of work. It is maybe one of those things that looks easy, and then if you try and do yourself can be a little bit difficult. It's sort of like a hybrid crack key system, this, with the wicking matting. And you do get some other stuff when you buy one of these as well. I should say this isn't really a sponsored video. I bought these Quadgrows with my own money, but Grown Local, who are now stocking them, there is a link in the description to the Grown Local page. I'm so glad that they're back on the market. I've had loads of questions, people asking me about them as well. What you get is this wicking matting, and one thing I will say, last year I went ahead and I bought some cheap wicking matting from Wilko for my Quadgrow, and it did not work. Getting this proper stuff, I think these are about £2 or something like that. It is definitely worthwhile getting this stuff that is gonna work with the Quadgrow. Maybe you can get separate ones that you can cut yourself. But the other thing you get is this, which is, I think, amazing. It's a liquid fertilizer, so it comes in 2 parts. You get 2 of these, an A and a B, and you mix them together. All the instructions on the thing, very simple to follow, and this will feed a lot more than one Quadgrow. And I use this feed for my chilies and my tomatoes, even the ones that aren't in the Quadgrow. So it's really, really useful. And it's quite a lot of plastic here, but you can buy little refill packs and you reuse the bottles. I said this one because it's like ex-display, it's a bit beaten up, but really, really good feed. I've got these that I'm putting in today. These are quite well suited to growing outdoors. I'm really excited about this. And one thing to say, the reservoir does tend to last quite a long time. Obviously, as your plants get more and more mature, they get more thirsty. But normally you fill this reservoir up and it lasts a good 3 to 4 days at least. And for tomatoes, I think that's quite good. One of the first things that you do want to do is get this capillary matting soaking before you actually, put on your plants. So I've just got the reservoir filling up now. One thing you do want to make sure is that this is on a level surface. If you've got lumpy, bumpy ground, then you'll have one wet reservoir and one dry one. So I'm just going to wait for these to soak up a little bit, and then we can get the pots going. Now, I don't think this matting needs a proper soaking or anything like that, but you just want to make sure it is pre-wetted. It just kind of helps make sure that everything is going to do what it's meant to do. You give it a couple of folds, and then it stays pointy side up. That's always the thing to remember. And then this just goes in the hole in the bottom of the pot, the big hole in the middle of the pot. There's lots of other holes for drainage. You pull it through, and what you want is roughly this pointy end to just be a little bit below the level of the pot, the top of the pot, which is going to kind of correspond to the top of the soil that you put in here. And one thing that is quite nice, because you get all this liquid feed, you don't have to spend out on really expensive compost that's had lots of fertilizer added or anything like that. You just need a growing medium in here. You still want something that's a nice texture, but this is then going to go down into the reservoir, and you just start filling up your medium. And we'll do that now, I'll show you. So I'm using a mixture of shop bought, quite good compost, and some crap compost, and some pretty okay homemade compost as well in here. So it is important to remember you do still need some goodness in the compost, because the liquid feed is going to be probably missing some of those micronutrients and that kind of thing. But you just want to fill up the bottom a little bit, making sure that the capillary matting stays upright. You can see it kind of does it by itself, so it's not too onerous. And then you pop in your tomato plant just to kind of see where the level of that soil is going to be. This tomato plant wants to be a little bit higher, and then you can just fill around the pot. You don't have to do this in the Quadgrow, you can take it out and then put it back in. Now I'm just noticing that I think the matting is a little bit high. You really want it just below the soil so that it doesn't suck up the water and then just evaporate. So you can just easily adjust it, pull it down a little bit if needs be. Just pat around the edges. Same as putting on any plant really. Pretty nice, healthy plant. Pop it in, top it up. Remember your label. And then what I do like to do is just give it a quick top water just to make sure that everything is properly bedded in. And if you want as well, you might want to mulch this with something just in case you've got weed seed and you want to keep in a little bit of extra moisture. There we go, tomatoes all planted up. I am going to add some supports to this and give it a quick mulch with some manure, but a few things to mention. First, the capillary matting is not going to be reusable. What you will find is the roots of tomatoes or any big hungry plant are going to burrow down into that reservoir and you're going to have to rebuy the capillary matting. It's only a couple of quid each season, so it's not the end of the world, but just something to be aware of. And these reservoir caps, something to mention, really handy. Don't lose these. They prevent the reservoirs from just evaporating away, and you get a really nice big kind of watering hole, which does make life easy, because if you're in a greenhouse, for example, you can imagine all the vegetation in a month from now, absolutely crazy. So from a little way away, you can nice and easily water these and get the feed in. I'm not going to be feeding these for quite a while yet, probably going to give these about 3 or 4 weeks before I start the feeding, because I do want their roots to develop and grow out into this compost before I start feeding. There's a link in the description if you do want to get your hands on these. They are a fantastic birthday present, and I know that for a fact because this was a birthday present. I think that's just about everything. Let me know in the questions if you've got any questions or queries. An extra special thank you to my Chili Pepper tier patrons: Tony, Bill, Pam, Louise, Michael, Mel, Andrew, Socks, Craig and Denise. Thank you ever so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. I will be doing a video a bit later on my feeding regime for my tomatoes and chilies, so do look out for that one.